a planning hack basically that I feel like is so super simple, as most of the things are that I believe in teaching, but it is also so super useful. I have been using this planning for quite a long time. And I think that it is so useful because what it ideally does is takes into account a lot of things happening in your life and business at the time. So I'll kind of go through it in specifics so you can know what I mean. But basically, I want to talk to you about kind of like taking everything into account when you're planning for your business and how to really look at that, because I feel like where we can get really stuck. Hey guys. Hey Elisa. Hey Nevika. Thank you. Hey Patricia. It's amazing. It like feels like jammies, but kind of looks together. So I'm like really, really feeling that jammy life. Yeah, so the point of it is to really be able to kind of holistically look at your business. I think that what we do so often is we sort of plan in a vacuum and then we get sort of surprised when our business doesn't do everything we want it to do and meet every single need that we have and. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today and really go through just how I look at this. I've been using this specific planning document that I'm going to walk you through since, gosh, 2017, 2018, I think. Hi, Lucy. Thank you for being here. Hi, Mira. Yeah, it is velvet. So it's just like so soft. And every time I like hold him when I'm wearing this, he just like does this the whole time. It's so cute. So anyway, been using this since like 2017, 2018, and it just is so useful. But again, it's kind of simple, but I think that that's the point I want to share with you today too, is that this can be really, really simple. Oh, love the nails. Thank you. These are my press-on nails. I'm sure you know this, Lisa, because I was on a kick of talking about them all the time, but anyway, they're amazing. So yes, this is what we are going to go through today. I've been using this for a while. I've used it with clients. Some of my clients that are watching this are probably going to be like, oh, yeah, I've heard of this, right? But I feel like one of the biggest challenges that I see come up for people in business that this document really kind of like helps solve. I'm not going to give you a document. I'm just going to tell you what's on it, but that this kind of planning process helps solve is feeling like your business should do everything and meet every need. Hi, Jess. Good to see you. It's sort of like relationships, like this concept, I feel like is something Esther Perel talks about a lot. If you guys know who she is, she's amazing. And she talks about how like one of the problems with like modern relationships is that our partner is supposed to be kind of like everything to us. They're supposed to be like kind of like our our like whole community, our best friend, our like co-cleaner of the house and all of these things. And we're supposed to be like wildly sexually attracted to them, and we're supposed to like have all of this romance and she talks a lot about like how that's like what has harmed modern relationships so much, is just how like we expect everything of one person. And I think it's such a parallel to business, is that we sometimes expect everything of our business. Like it's supposed to make me feel super like high and excited and jazzed and pumped, but also really stable and grounded and content. And like, it's supposed to just check like 30 of these boxes. And when it doesn't check a couple of them, we're super quick to make it wrong. And so I created this process to kind of be like, what if it wasn't going to check every box all the time? But what if you were really intentional about the box that you wanted it to check against sort of like relationships, right? Like your partner may not be able to check every box all the time, but like in the season I'm in, for example, the most important box Kenny could be checking right now is like our partnership in like keeping this very, very tiny human alive. And so like, would all other boxes be great? Sure. Do many of them get checked? Sure. But like at the end of the day, those aren't going to be like the biggest priority in a season where this feeling and this level of partnership is. And like that I feel like is really helpful to just kind of say, because I feel like where it's so easy to get tripped up is having expectations otherwise. Elisa said, hell yes, this concept was life-changing for me as a very multi-passionate, not to think about my business has to check every single box. Yes, so good. Elisa, that's a great point too about like, especially when you're multi-passionate, it's even harder to not kind of feel the pressure for everything to be in one area. So I think that's a great point. Dina says, yes, Esther Perel is amazing. I also love her workplace related podcast. Hers and your podcast are my favorite places for ongoing learning and growth of my coaching skills. Oh my gosh, amazing. I actually haven't listened to that one yet, her workplace one, but I really, really want to. I feel like she's just so brilliant. So anyway, thank you for reminding me of that. So yes, this concept of like, it's not going to meet all the needs is so helpful, because when the expectation is that it should, and then it falls even a little bit short, like, again, I'll just use the relationship parallel because I think it's helpful, but it's like when you just had a baby and the expectation is like every other checkbox should be met and it's not, like, that's how it's easy to get so up in your head and be like, oh my God, is something wrong with our relationship? And it's like, or this is a season you're in and this is these are like the three most important things and it's totally meeting that. And can that be good and okay? Right. So I feel like that is one of the takeaways I would love for you to have from today, is that like the reason I called this, to feel better and more successful in business, not just to be better and more successful. It's like the way you will feel success is to kind of be having reasonable expectations that you're meeting. And I don't even just mean as it relates to your goals, but I mean as it relates to like how your business is making you feel and all of that too. So that is so freaking important. It's something I really, really hope is helpful in driving home today. And I hope it's something you include in your planning process moving forward, because I feel like, what's that quote? I don't know who said it. I always forget this, but it's like all unhappiness is the result of unmet expectation. And I think that is so true in every area, but it is certainly true as it relates to our conversation for business. And so having a way to plan that helps you have exciting but realistic expectations, I think, is so key to actually feeling good in your business. Because I know so many people that are like having successful launches or different things like that, but because they had an expectation that the business was checking every single box around that, they're not actually feeling successful in it. And so I think that's really, really important to say. So we will include that today as well. Hey, Steph, she said, embodying the feeling of success through actions and realistic goals. Yes, exactly. Patricia said, I love this so much, specifically now that my life has shifted with homeschooling kids. Yeah, exactly. Which, Patricia, you just like set it up so perfectly for me, because that's another thing that is going to be included in how I talk about this planning process. Is like one of the things I always note in this is like what life stuff is on deck, because I feel like that's another thing where so many people plan for their business stuff and then just don't take that into consideration. And it's like, oh shit, but I'm like, whatever, like the kids had school break this month and I'm supposed to be launching, and it feels like total fucking chaos. And it's like, well, right, because like you're trying to plan the business and then plan your life around that. And that's not really the easiest way to do it. The easiest way to do it is to plan your life and then plan your business around that. Like that's the value of being a CEO, right? Is that like you can make those adjustments, but you can't adjust your kid's school break. Well, maybe Patricia can because she's homeschooling, but in general, right? Like, that's a thing. Or, I've had clients like plan and then realize like, oh, I'm like out of town for 2 weeks for this launch. Like, oops, and it's fine. Like we can always adjust to it, but it's just so much more chaotic and stressful than it needs to be when we don't just acknowledge and include life as part of it. I feel like there's so much pressure to almost like run a business as though you don't have life stuff happening. And that's not real or true. And so including that is everything. Hey, Michelle. Patricia said, yes, literally have to make adjustments to my business model. Of course, right? It's like absolutely necessary for something like that. Hey, Katie, good to see you. So, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Okay, so here are the things I'll just kind of share with you and we'll go through each, but basically the way I do this, you don't have to do it this way at all. Like this is just like a frame with which to think about, but it's on a Trello board. Basecamp also has like kind of like a thing that mimics Trello boards now too. So that's kind of cool, but it's on a Trello board and each month has a card, right? And again, you do not have to do this way. I'm just like explaining the specifics in case that's helpful. And then each card has like these sections underneath it. So if you're just visualizing it, this is what it's going to look like, but it doesn't have to look like that. But I just thought that might be helpful to share. But what I have under each month is what I'm focused on, life on deck, i.e. what's happening with life, what I'm selling, how I'm marketing, how I will feel, and other items that will move me towards my goals or intention. So we're going to go through all of these specifically. I can even I'll just drop them in the chat later too. 111, perfect, Michelle. We'll all make a wish. I can drop them in the chat too, but I want to talk through each section of this, and I want to challenge you, write this out for the next couple of months for yourself, answer these questions for each month and see how that really feels in business. And see how much more it not only makes you feel planned, but actually feel successful in your planning. Okay, so first one is what I'm focused on. Seems obvious, but I think that it is really hard for most entrepreneurs to completely and totally be able to say, this is my focus this month, right? And that is the start of everything. If you can't answer what is my focus this month, every other planning piece hinges on that. So you're stuck, right? Or you're just throwing spaghetti at a wall. And what most people are doing is just throwing spaghetti at a wall because they really resist the idea of just focusing on something, right? Which I get, right? For a multitude of reasons. But most people are not able to kind of just go, well, I'm just focused on selling one-on-one this month. It kind of almost gives them the heebie-jeebies a little bit, right? Because it's super vulnerable to go all in on one focus. It also feels kind of scary because what if that focus doesn't work and right? But the beauty of having to pick that is you want all of that shit to come up. So then you can go do the mindset around all of that instead of wrecking, being a friggin' bull in a china shop in your business because you don't want to deal with the mindset stuff, right? And obviously that's not always conscious. Sometimes it's subconscious, but right, you want to have the stuff come up so you can deal with it. So it's not don't pick a focus because that might trigger a bunch of things. It's pick a focus, see what it triggers, and then handle that. So what am I focused on? It might be growing my list. It might be selling out my one-on-one practice. It might be a launch, whatever, but it's one super clear focus there is that in and of itself is life-changing, right? Which is different than what I'm selling. Okay, so I have a what I'm selling category on there, and I feel it's easy for someone to go, oh, those should be the same thing. What I'm selling should be what I'm focused on. Not necessarily, right? Maybe in a certain month, I'm just focused on list growth because I know I have a launch coming up the following month. But maybe what I'm selling is my DIY products, right? So that's not a huge focus. I'm not going to put it in my focus thing. My focus is list growth. But of course, I'm going to keep selling and I'm going to sell some of my small DIY products. Does that make sense? So we'll talk more about what I'm selling, but what I'm focused on does not have to just be an offer, although it could be. Maybe what you're focused on is delivering an amazing free event this month. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It does not have to just be about what you're selling. Maybe what you're focused on is, cleaning up some back end stuff. Totally okay. But you have to acknowledge that that was your focus. So this is the challenge point. Hey, Jordan. Oh, yay. I'm so excited you're going to make a Trello board. Okay. You have to tell me about it. I want to hear. Oh, I forgot to say this, guys. Sorry. If you comment at all today, we're giving away the MSC bundle. Just as a thank you for listening. We always do that. And so anyway, I forgot to say that at the beginning, but what we're giving away today is our MSC bundle. I think it's really helpful as it relates to this. So I feel that's a good match. So if you're watching this and it's helpful, I think MSC bundle will help a lot. So any comment at all will get you entered to win that. But just totally random brain firing, forgot to say that. So, all right. So what I was saying is that this is that part where I was kind of also saying like your business can't do everything all the time. So it's like sometimes what I want is to be focused on growing my list, but also selling out my one-on-one, but also getting my team back end totally cleaned up and that's where we get so frustrated because that's too much to focus on in 1 month. And maybe all of them will move forward a little bit, but it's not like I was just like, this is the month where whatever, we clean up our back end systems and actually saw that through. But the, trade-off to that is that it might not be your biggest sales month because most of your energy was on cleaning up your back end system. But the beauty of having it planned like this is you have to see that as intentional and be okay with that. If you absolutely cannot have a month that's somewhat leaned back in terms of like selling and marketing, for sure don't make the focus cleaning up your back end systems, right? If you know that your business is like at a good place and it's coasting along and you can have a month dedicated to that, by all means do, but then don't beat yourself up when it wasn't your biggest sales month. Do you see how important that like dynamic of it all is? But what's nice is when you do this on that Trello board for 12 months, it can also give you some peace of mind because you're like, yeah, this month is back end, but then next month I'm going into a huge launch. And so that should even out and that's okay. I don't have to always be in the sell mentality / I know if I am like in the sell mentality, like maybe the following month is more lean back, whatever, but you can see how it all plays together versus looking at it with such a narrow viewfinder of like, I'm supposed to just sell this thing this month and then also do this and also do this and all, right? Like craziness. Do you do this for 12 months in advance? Hey, good. I'm so glad you like it, Janet. Thank you. Do I do it for 12 months in advance? It really depends, Jess. Like I typically would, just because my offers are so simple. Like I'm like always selling one-on-one, you know what I mean? So it's like a little bit easier for me to do it in that way. So I probably would, I would say for most of my clients, 12 months would be a little bit of a stretch. We'd probably do 6. So it depends. Yeah. But so anyway, what you're focused on, and then actually acknowledging that that's what you were focused on / aligning your actions to that being what you're focused on. It seems so simple and obvious, but it is really, I think, like one of the biggest challenges. And I think it's how a lot of people get to the end of a month and then are beating themselves up for like how that month went versus being like, well, I just like intentionally planned it like this. And like, I have whatever coming this month, So what is your focus is such an important thing. And it's an important piece to like see in front of your face every day. I don't really look at it every day now, but I used to have a reminder to go look at my Trello board every day in my calendar because I wanted to like go back and see every day, like, oh yeah, this is what I'm focused on. This is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like really helpful. Okay. So the next one is life on deck. So kind of obvious, but really important is if you're not acknowledging what life is happening that month, you are going to just be more chaotic and scrambling in business. So life on deck might be like literally nothing, or it might be like, I would like to clean out my closets this month, whatever. Or it might be something huge, like I'm going on a 2-week trip, or, we have family coming to stay for X amount of time or whatever. I'm just, making things up there. Yes, Alessia, we painted the cabinets, just could not hang for the dark as much as I wanted to. So they got painted. But yeah, so whatever life stuff is, it might be like if you're a parent, it might be when your children have school breaks. If you travel a lot, it's definitely going to be that. If you're like a couple of my clients have Airbnb businesses too. So it might be like, is it busy season there? Do they need more attention? Are they like, adding one onto their, kind of portfolio, whatever, like anything that is outside of your business that is going to impact the amount of time, energy, and effort you have to put into your business should go on this, right? Because you have to acknowledge that in your planning. And again, it's what can help you get to the end of the month and not be like, oh my God, what the fuck with this month? Da, da, da. It's like, Oh yeah, like I cleaned up my back end stuff. The kids had break and we took a trip. Like I feel amazingly accomplished that this is what I got done while that was happening, right? Janet said, "Oh, I just thought it was another part of the house." That's funny. No, it is same office. It's just that these were dark cabinets, and over the Christmas holidays, I say we all the time, like it was me. Penny painted them white, so it's much better. Steph says the travel life really requires this kind of mental organization 100%. And I think like if you're having a super busy travel month but you're not including that in your business planning, that's going to make you insane, right? But if you can literally see in your business plan, oh yeah, I'm like whatever traveling to 3 different locations this month, of course my bandwidth and capacity is going to be more limited. Let me acknowledge that. I think that that's so important. Like I remember we moved like the very end of October, early November, and just having to be like, yeah, this is a thing. Like I'm going to get no other things really moved forward in my business the way I want to. Like my focus was just moving, like, which by the way, I didn't even say this, but like, that's also allowed to be a focus, is like something life related, or it could just be like maintaining. Like, I think my focus for November was just like, not like keeping the wheels on kind of thing. You know what I mean? So everything does not have to be like this, like business growth focus. Like some months might be like my focus is just like doing what I need to do to keep the business running and operating. And like there aren't any additional projects this month because there's a lot of other stuff going on. Hey Christina. Oh my gosh, of course. I'm so glad you find it helpful. Okay, so that's the next one, life on deck. After that, what I'm selling. So again, this might be different and or similar to what I'm focused on. Like maybe you're focused on selling out your one-on-one practice and what you're selling is one-on-one. Like those might align, or they might be totally different. Maybe what you're focused on is email growth and what you're selling is just like some of your done for you or done DIY. Do it yourself. Oh my God, my brain. We're adding a done for you element to Dateable. And I was working on that this morning. And so my brain is just like done for you, done for you. But anyway, maybe it's a DIY thing. So those might be different, but you really do want to know what you're selling. Again, I think this is one of those things where it's like, of course I want to know what I'm selling, but so many people do not just go, this is what I'm selling this month. Maybe it's 2 things, you know what I mean? Like maybe you have like a small paid offer, like a masterclass or something, and then you're selling a larger program. Like it doesn't just have to be one thing, but it does need to be pretty intentional and not just like your entire offer suite, right? Like know what you're actually selling that month. I feel like so many people kind of go like day to day, week to week kind of thing. And they're just like, oh, I should sell this today. I should sell this. I should. And it's like fine-ish, but it feels so chaotic, right? And it's really hard for your audience to actually get exposed to an offer long enough that they warm up to it and want to buy. And so you might be selling a lot, but you're probably not making great sales because that focus isn't there and you're not really channeling it into an offer. So really know what that answer is. Like, what am I selling this month? Again, like seems simple, harder in like actual action and usage. So really, really would recommend getting very clear on like 1 or 2 things you're selling, knowing that your focus aligns to those, right? Again, sometimes the months, so I do it like month by month because I think that's helpful, but sometimes your months won't always, how do I want to say this? Yeah, like what, I'm trying to think of a good example of how I'm trying to say this. What I'm selling this month might be what I was focused on the month before. Even sometimes like, I'm selling whatever this course this month, but the month before is when I did like the whole big, like lead up event, all of that kind of stuff. So these can like overlap between months sometimes. So just remember that it's not like, oh, the month ended, so now I'm supposed to like completely start over. It's like they should kind of flow together. Does that make sense what I'm saying there? It's kind of harder to say it without seeing the visual on the board, but like just important to remember that. Hi, Shari. Kathy says planning is my focus this year. So this is great. Thanks. Oh my gosh. Perfect. I am in velvet, Shari. I was telling everyone before that, it's like so soft. It feels like pajamas, but when I've been like holding Bennett today, he just like sits there and pets it. Jess said, yes, like I'm refining my program this month and then I'm selling it the next or whatever. Exactly. Perfectly said, Jess. Thank you for that. I needed that simplicity. Yes. Cool. So those might overlap. So know what you're selling. Again, not that difficult, but is really a challenge. And so it also helps because if you have multiple offers, then you're not going to get to the end of the month and beat yourself up. So this is really something that I want to encourage you to think about is like, you know, say you have one-on-one and like an evergreen course people can buy. Well, maybe you spent the whole month selling one-on-one and then you're getting to the end of the month beating yourself up about not making course sales. Well, you can't do that because that wasn't your focus and it wasn't what you were selling. So you see how that's like so interesting, and this just makes you be so intentional, but also keep it real with yourself and also give yourself some grace where it's like, yeah, this wasn't my focus. This wasn't actually what I was selling. Like nothing about this would suggest that I would be making a ton of evergreen course sales this month. Right on. Like it just relieves the pressure. And what it helps you do is not make up stories in your business that aren't there. You know, that's something I talk about all the time is that we just create all these problems in our business that aren't there. Well, guess what? This is a great way to not do that. It's rainy, cool day here, loving the comfy velvet. It is rainy and cool. Where are you in Florida, Steph? Jess said, oh my God, on the Bennett thing, Parker has started patting my shoulder saying, oh, Tay mama. Oh my gosh. Jess, I feel like we need a video of that. That's so cute. Tara said, so happy to catch this live. Planning is my favorite. Thank you for being here, Tara. Wasn't the focus and not what you're selling so important? Exactly, Sharina. Like, it's just so helpful to be able to do that for yourself and check yourself, because if not, like I know so many of my clients would be like, oh my God, I didn't make course sales this month. Like, what's wrong with my business? Da, da, da. But if we go back and look at this doc, we're like, actually, wasn't the focus, wasn't what we were selling. Is this a problem we need to solve? No. But if you don't have something like this kind of guiding you, it's so easy to be like, oh my God, this is a problem. I need to redo my entire funnel. No, don't do that to yourself. That is how you make yourself fucking crazy in business, right? Yeah, exactly. The metrics have to align. Bonita Springs, just outside of Naples, not far from you. Oh, amazing. Naples is so beautiful. So cool. Yeah, you're on my side of the coast. So awesome. Okay, so next thing is how I'm marketing. So again, should be obvious, but really important for it to be intentional. So how am I marketing? Like maybe I'm running an event, maybe I'm just emailing my list, maybe I'm really doubling down on reels or stories or whatever, but being able to just say that to yourself and have that as kind of like a North Star is really important. And then also making sure that aligns to what you're focused on and what you're selling, right? You know, if you're like, let's just kind of keep that same thread going. If you know that you're selling one-on-one this month, then in your marketing, you might be doing things that feel like a deeper dive. Like maybe instead of just a bunch of reels that are bringing in new people, you're actually really trying to like deepen relationships with the people already there that are going to be more likely to hire you for one-on-one. And so in your marketing, you're going live more frequently, sending more in-depth emails, offering calls, things like that, right? So you want to make sure the marketing aligns to the focus and what you're selling. If you don't have an evergreen. Shrina, I'm so sorry. I know that you probably asked that when I was talking about something else, and now I've lost the thread there, but tell me a little bit more about that question there. Can you talk about the different alignment of marketing and selling? Like, is it ever different? Oh, yes, it is different sometimes. Okay. Shari said, not sure if you already covered this, but systems wise, where do you hold these planning decisions where you'll see reference it? Yeah, Shari, it's okay, but I'm happy to answer it again. So I basically put these in a Trello board. And each month has these 6 questions on it, like what I'm focused on, life on deck, what I'm selling, how I'm marketing, how I will feel, other items that move me toward my goals. And so each month has like a card, and then those are like categories under each card. So you can kind of see the whole yearly plan on the Trello board. But I also think Basecamp has something that lets you do cards just like that. Now I'm sure a lot of other things do too, but I've just always done it in Trello. So yes. Okay. So Jess, can you talk about the difference alignment of marketing and selling? Like, is it ever different? Yeah. So it could be different. Like what I might be marketing, like just as an example on that one where I was saying, like, let's say my focus was list growth, my marketing might be almost entirely to freebies, right? But what I'm selling might be a DIY product that would be like in my freebie funnel or posts we're making here and there. So sometimes those might not align. If the marketing needs to be more in line with the focus than what you're selling, or like the marketing might be for an event, and then you're selling a program off of it, but that's not till the next month. So they can shift slightly, but they mostly should line up very closely. But yeah, they could be kind of different sometimes. But again, that's helpful to see because sometimes it's like, oh, okay, well, like all I was marketing this month was freebies. So of course, like the metric I should be looking at is like, did we get more opt-ins, right? Instead of like, did we make more sales? Like that wouldn't be the right metric to kind of look at for that month because the focus and the marketing were all toward list growth, Shari said, yes, I'm using Basecamp for backend right now. Okay, but real talk here is what things do you put in place to remind you to look at them after they're planned? I actually said that too. It's so funny that you asked that. But I used to have a reminder on my calendar. Now I don't need it anymore. I don't really look at it every day and it's just like an easy habit. But I used to have a reminder on my calendar to go look at the Trello board every day. So yeah, it would be like, go look at your board kind of thing, just so I like had that like awareness to go there. So yes, that is a very real thing. But yeah, so just does that make sense where they could be different? But then also the reason it's helpful to know that is because you really want to pay attention to like, what metrics should I actually be studying? If like my whole month, my focus was getting list growth and what I was marketing were freebies and we didn't see any list growth, then like, I really need to look at that and figure out what's going on. But if we didn't make a ton of sales, I need to not beat myself up because that wasn't at all what I was pushing toward. And so that's really like the value here of being like, okay, cool. I'm not only, but like, I'm mostly going to look at the metrics that align to what I'm actually focused on, noted. Thank you. You're so welcome. Amazing. Okay. So the next thing is how I will feel. Okay. I am like going to get on a soapbox about this one, but this one is so important because it's like I was saying earlier, how like we expect our business to give us all the things. And I really love doing this with clients. Sometimes when they're kind of feeling like that pressure to like the business should be checking all these boxes. Like I should feel excited and engaged and amazing. And I should feel total peace and ease and contentment. And it's like, nothing can give you all of those things at one time. It's too freaking much, right? And Lisa said it kind of goes hand in hand with the business vision board. So it would be good to have both of those things side by side kind of. And yes, I definitely need to remind you to look at those too. Yeah, Lisa, I've actually never thought of that. So I really appreciate you saying that. But they really do align quite a bit. And I've never thought about like really putting them side by side like that. So I really appreciate you saying that. Jess said, oh my God, I feel like the how I will feel when alone would change the game for me. Yes, deciding instead of letting it be decided for me. Perfectly said, right? Like it's really, you pick, right? And I always like encourage clients to pick as it relates to like what's happening that month. So for example, if you're having a big launch month, what you're probably not going to feel is a ton of like peace and spaciousness. Sorry, not sorry. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if you're having like multiple launch events and like, it's probably just not going to check that box for you this month. And can that be okay? So maybe what you feel is a lot of like excitement and you feel really lit up and you feel engaged with your audience or something cool. How do you lean into those feelings, enjoy them for what they are, see them as intentional and make it right when those feelings come versus make it wrong when you're not feeling spaciousness and peace, right? Or again, vice versa, some of my clients, like if they're just in a season of like, oh, we're just kind of like growing our list and like our MRR is in a good spot and we're not selling a ton this month, they're so quick to kind of be like, shouldn't I be feeling like more lit up and da da da? And it's like, no, like the season you're in is not necessarily that, but you have like a lot more spaciousness. So what would it look like to, feel into that and allow that like peace and contentment to come in? So it's really about seeing like, okay, I might not feel all of these things all the time, but I might feel all of them over the course of a year. So in certain seasons, maybe I'm very lit up and engaged in that way. And certain seasons, maybe I'm very much feeling into like spaciousness and peace. My business can give me all of those things over time, but not all of them at once. Sort of like I was saying about relationships earlier, right? My relationship can give me so many check boxes over time, but probably not in the same like whatever week, right? So just like really keeping that in mind and creating that intentionality behind how you will feel. Shari, what I was saying is like, I personally would probably do 12 months because my sales calendar is so simple in the sense that it's not like crazy. It's like 101, you know what I mean? So for me, it's pretty easy to do this, on a 12-month range. For a lot of my clients, that would not feel super good. And a lot of them would do like 6 months. So I think it depends. I would say it's worth doing at least 6 at a time. But it depends. Janet said, do you plan these in the same Trello project for all 12 months? Yes, it's like, you can basically scroll across it, if that makes sense. So, it is all at the same time, which I find to be really helpful. I also put well, maybe I'll say that later. I'm just making a note to myself because I have something else that I put on it that I didn't necessarily mention that's on the board. I wonder if I could just share a board with you guys. I'll have to figure that out later. Sorry, I don't want to like sit here and fuck around with this. I wonder if I could share that with you, but that might be interesting. Okay, so anyway, I'll add those two things to the conversation though. So how I will feel. So important. And then make yourself right when you feel that, like I feel really spacious this month. That means I'm getting it right. Oh wait, I think I missed this. Are you saying you have those focus each month or maybe each quarter? I'm such a quarterly planner. You could totally do it quarterly, Elisa. I have it in month blocks, but it honestly wouldn't matter to do quarterly if that felt better for you. Quite honestly, I probably could do quarterly and it would be totally fine. So yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Let me write that note, Shari. Let me get myself my Post-it. I could definitely do a screenshot. Okay, screenshot board. Shot board. Okay, good. So smart. Yeah, so how I will feel. Most important question you could really answer on this, and also makes you not crazy, and also is really confronting when you like are trying to write it out and you're like trying to say all the things and then you're like, ooh, oh, I guess I can't ask for every single thing all at the same time, right? But it's like just so great because how many of us have been in like a big season in business where then we're making that we don't feel spacious wrong, or how many of us have been in like a chill season in business where we're making it wrong that we don't feel like massive amounts of excitement and energy. And yeah, I think it's an easy place to get stuck. And when you can see this all laid out, whether you do it, quarterly or monthly or whatever, is you can see like, oh, over the course of this year, I can feel all of those things. And I feel like that just helps your system to relax into that a little bit, where it's not like, oh, I'm giving up ever feeling excitement in my business. It's just like, oh, I'm like, that's coming, or I'm giving up ever feeling spaciousness. Like how many of us have felt like that when we're in a busy season where we're like, oh my God, but like, actually next month is super spacious. Like, how can I just like lean into seeing how like these will all fit together? Okay, last one is other items that will move me toward my goals or intentions. So I put that on there because like sometimes there is just something else small that's on deck, but I wrote it like that because I think it's really important that it still feels really aligned to what your ultimate goals are. And it's like makes you do that check-in versus it sort of being something that's like, oh, it would just be fun if I like redid all my graphics or whatever. And it's like, maybe like, how does that align to like the other stuff that you actually want? And does this actually make sense to put on here? Or is this just sort of like a random one-off thought where you're like, wouldn't it be fun if, kind of thing? So, things here might be like making a training video for my team on X, or, like having a, one-on-one meeting with my graphic designer on Y or something like that, right? But as long as it like feels like, yes, I can truly say this moves me forward is so useful. I'm going to do this in Notion. Such a great practice. Thank you. Ooh, interesting. I like that, Elisa. I would love to see it if you ever want to share it with us. Sorry, I said giving myself credit right now because I've been doing such a good job of that and it's liberating. Liberating. I love that. And I agree so much. Like when you can really like do that for yourself, right? Of like, this is how I'm going to feel, and I'm going to feel different things at different times, and all of it can be good together. Like you become free in your business, kind of, right? Like it's just wild how that is. Michelle said, I'm really loving this conversation, especially since I started doing this morning in the year at a glance section of my planner before knowing what today's live focus was. So cool. I love that. And I love that there's so many different ways to do it too. Like Elisa's going to use Notion. I use Trello. Shari might use Basecamp. Michelle's using her written planner. Like there's no right way to do this. It's just about like kind of setting these intentions and like these practices. So I feel like Notion is the only one that satisfies my aesthetic needs. I love that. Hey, Elisa, good to see you. Okay, so yeah, other items. So it just makes you kind of be discerning on what items you're going to put on there. Like I've certainly had the experience of like wanting to put something on there and then I'm like, oh, it doesn't fit. I can't actually say it helps me, move towards my goals. And it's like, but like, it's really good to have that filter versus me doing all this random ass shit that doesn't align to my focus, that doesn't move me to my goals or intentions. That does, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh yeah, I actually don't want to spend time on that, Shari said, I'm such a fan of embracing cyclical seasonality through work. It feels so rebellious in the best ways. I agree. It's so good. Michelle said, also my brain's takeaway right now is definitely, yes, Michelle, you're allowed to mess with your sales page because you're focused on selling one-on-one. Okay, well, we'll see. But yes, that totally could be true, right? Like, it's like, oh yeah, that completely aligns with that. That makes so much sense. Like, of course that gets to go on here, but it gets to be a really good filter. So those are the main things. What I'm focused on, life on deck, what I'm selling, how I'm marketing, how I will feel, other items that move me toward my goals or intentions. So that I'm going to drop in the chat. Yeah. Shari says depending. Exactly. Like depends. Okay, so that's in there. So the other thing I do that I'll just mention that is helpful for me, it may or may not be helpful for you. But I do, where did that go? There we go. I do goals on a card as well at the very front. And then I do always working on, goals and then always working on. And that's helpful for me too, for a couple of reasons. So goals is obviously really helpful because being able to look at that every day as it matches up and aligns to what you're doing is helpful to be like, oh yeah, like my goal in the next 6 months is this, and I'm doing this today. Like alignment, it makes sense. And also I think it's just like good mindset work for your brain to like see those goals in front of you written out like that. Okay, we'll miss you. Thank you for being here today. Have a good rest of your week and day. So yeah, helpful to have those there, helpful to compare those to what you're doing. Yeah, Jess, exactly. Like your big goals. Like if you're doing this for 6 months, it would be like your 6 months goals. If you're doing it for a year, it'd be like your yearly goal. So like just having those right there in the front. And then the next thing I do is always working on. Um, and the reason I do that is because for me, and you may or may not like this, but that feels really good to my brain. So always working on might be like regular content, client experience, team love, or something like that, right? Where it's like, those are always happening. And so it just feels helpful for me to acknowledge that like every month I don't need to like put a reminder to like create content or like love on my team or like focus on customer service. Like these are just like consistent things in my business that are always happening. And then everything else that goes in the document is almost like the above and beyond some of those. And so that's really helpful because it's like every month I'm not going to put podcasts for how I'm marketing. Like I just always am doing my podcast. Maybe I would put that if I was going to put like a special, series out or something, but otherwise like it doesn't have to be a thing. And so it's kind of just helpful for my brain to have some things and always working on. So that like lands it for me of like, oh yeah, those are my like ride or die, my tried and true. These are always happening. The rest is above and beyond that. You may or may not like that. Like if that feels overwhelming to you, I don't think that's like a super important one that has to be there. But if you're someone whose brain is like, but what about, or like, what about this detail or whatever, it may actually really help you to have that one there. So that one's sort of like up for grabs. I don't think that one's a must, but for me personally, it feels really good to have, to just like anchor that, like, oh yeah, I'm always working on this kind of thing. So that I have there as well. And that's really it. So the point of this is obviously to like make you feel organized and make it easier to hit your goals because you're being really intentional and focused. But the point of this, even above and beyond that, is to feel really successful in what you're doing because you're doing it with so much intention. Like when you have those months where you're like, oh my God, I did grow the list and I did feel spacious and I did get us set up in a really good way for a big month the next month, you're like able to be like, oh yeah, go me, that felt fucking great. I'm right on track. Instead of like, we didn't make sales this month. What's going on? Does that mean our launch is going to suck next month? Like, all the stuff that our brain does when we haven't been like, no, this is what it looks like. This is what it's supposed to look like, right? Or it also helps, I think, so you don't get as triggered when you see other people saying certain things. So it's like if you're having a super chill month and you have someone else being like, I've never been more lit up in my business. Like if that didn't feel intentional, it would be so easy to be like, oh my God, I'm not feeling that lit up in my business. Oh my God, I'm doing something wrong. And like spiral, but you're like, oh my God, so cool. Her intention this month maybe was to have like the most lit up month in her business. Amazing. Mine is to have spaciousness. That feels fucking great. Rock on. Right. So I think it's really helpful in that regard. So it's like, yes, let's get help. Let's have planning that helps you create success, but let's also have planning that makes you feel successful, my brain needs catch-all categories. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Shari said, so do you reflect on these, assess in some way in a systematic way, or hold it loosely like an intention? I would say more loosely, but I would also say I probably would like try to match up some data around it. So it's like, if the goal or if the focus was list growth, like I would probably want to at the end of that month be like, do we have data that supports that we actually grew our list, just to like check in and make sure like were our efforts worth it. But I definitely don't have like something super formal that I go through, because obviously some of it is like overlapping and does change a little bit. So I try not to be like too rigid with like the month to month things, but I would kind of be like, okay, like this is what we've been tracking towards. Does our data support that that's what's happening? With these on-point invitations of our brains. I know, right? It's like so hysterical because it's like really true. What is that saying? Like, it's funny because it's true. But yeah, like I think that that's just what's so easy to do. So obviously it's not perfect. And sometimes you're going to be in a month that does feel really full on and like wishing you had a spacious month or vice versa or whatever. But the goal is really to just be like, oh, I can just be like, oh, this is a full on month. And I like planned that and I did that on purpose, but I'm really looking forward to like 2 months from now when it's like total spaciousness. Amazing. It just kind of helps give you that light at the end of the tunnel either way. And it helps you really stay in your own lane. Which is always the thing I'm trying to, bring myself, clients, us all back to, is like staying in your own lane, solving the right problem kind of thing. Well, thank you, Lucy. Hey, Manisha, good to see you. So that's really it. I hope that helps. I put those 6 in the comments. You could also add the goals you're always working on. I will try to take a screenshot. If not, see if I can share the board or whatever. But again, like it doesn't need to be like a board that you do in the exact same way, but just for like a reference point, happy to show it to you. But I think it's more about like, are you answering these questions? Do you know the answer to these? Do you feel aligned to these? If someone said to you, what's your focus in this month? Would you be able to answer that, right? The bonus hack that I will give on this is that if you may or may not want to show your team your whole board, it's totally up to you. But you could at least tell them like, hey, what we're focused on, what we're selling, and how we're marketing is this. Like imagine just being able to like message your team and say that every month. Like that could be such a game changer too, to just be like, hi team, beginning of the month, here's what we're focused on. Here's what we're selling. Here's how we're marketing. Like rock on, just give them that focal point too. So that can be really helpful as well. So I hope you guys use this. If you do, I would love to hear it. I think if you are, oh my God, same. So funny, Shari. Just said in ClickUp because Trello is so 2019. Haha, just kidding. No, it kind of is so 2019. I'm pretty sure I built this in 2018 and was like cutting edge Trello usage time. And now it's like, does anyone use Trello anymore? Right? It's so funny. Yeah, exactly. Share a team. So really, really useful in that way. But again, like I think that the 2 big ones here, if you do nothing else, are what am I focused on and how do I want to feel? Like I think those are everything. The rest is very helpful, but this is very, very much like if you were like, I want to do none of that, but I'm just going to answer these 2 questions in my planner or something. That's what I would say. So Trello was it. It really was. It's so funny. It just goes to show how much evolves and changes and all that, But yes, okay. Give it a shot. I will put a screenshot. If you commented, you're entered to win the MSC bundle, which we will share tomorrow. And I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I hope this feels supportive. And if you do this, let me know. I'd love to hear. All right. Bye, guys.